Greetings and welcome to another D&D dish. Today we have one that's perfect for those seafaring adventures and a little outside of what I'm used to, but turned out to be quite the hit. Meuniere is when you basically use a flour base, add some parsley, butter, and lemon. It's a very simple sauce that takes minutes to make and can be made with many types of fish, including sole and cod. I went with salmon because that's what the group enjoys, and generally speaking, it's easy to get fresh or frozen around here. Speaking of frozen, something I also want to mention very quickly as we look over our list of ingredients is not to turn your nose down to packaged frozen salmon or any fish. Unless you live near a fish market where you're getting it off the boat fresh, frozen can be a great alternative for your wallet. If the fish is being frozen immediately, it actually maintains more of its flavor versus something that might have been in the cold display at your supermarket over the last 4 or 5 hours. I was able to pick up a nice 4-pack of 5 to 6 ounce salmons, which were perfect for this dish. One thing to make sure when planning is if they are frozen, you're going to want to defrost them for about 30 to 40 minutes before you're ready to cook. Not a big deal, but it does pay to be efficient. Starting with tomatoes, as you can see here, we're just going to slice them into 2 or 3 pieces. I went with 3 pieces per tomato based off of the size and personal preference. These are going to go in the oven for about 30 minutes, so they are going to be pretty soft to eat. I prefer smaller slices of tomatoes versus 2 large halves. However, as I always say, you do you, boo. To start out, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Now all we need to do is mix the garlic, soy sauce, oil, cayenne, and chili powder together. Sprinkle the tomatoes with a little bit of salt, and once that's all mixed, go ahead and get a brush and be as liberal as you want to with the marinade. We're going to take these out midway and give them another brush, so leave enough of the marinade for a second pass later on. Now onto the fish. Pour the flour into a large enough container that we can dip our fish in. Take each fish and get them nice and acquainted with the flour. Don't be shy, don't be bashful. Cover every little crevice you can. Do one fish after the other and place them on a plate, set them aside. Go ahead and preheat your pan. We don't want it to be too hot, so set it around a low-medium heat. You'll see here I'm pouring a little oil first before the butter. This isn't changing the smoke point of the butter, despite what you may have read or heard on the internets, but it does add some additional flavor while helping reduce any bitterness that might occur if you do burn your butter. While some people cook Meuniere with just butter, I opted to use a little oil to help the process along. Also, as you'll see later, I opted to go for a slightly deep-fried version of this dish. Once your oil is warm, throw about 1/4 of the stick of the butter in. Once your butter begins to brown, go ahead and toss your first couple of fish in, whatever you can fit comfortably without too much crowding. Give these puppies the VIP treatment. Let them sit undisturbed for 5 minutes. Again, making sure our heat isn't too high, just below 350 degrees. Keep that butter from burning. As you can see, while my fish is looking nice, some of the butter browned nicely, while some of it might have burned a tiny bit. Thankfully, it wasn't enough to really hurt the dish, which is why I think adding the oil definitely helps a bit in the long run. Once your fish is cooked for 5 minutes on both sides, go ahead and let them rest and cook the other fish, throwing another 1/4 stick of butter into the pan. Cook them the same way and let them rest as well. Don't forget to check your tomatoes and baste them once they get to the halfway point, about 15 minutes into their cooking. Finally, once all your salmon is cooked and resting, add the rest of the butter to the saucepan. This is where the magic happens. Let the butter melt, and once it does, add the lemon juice. This is going to add a nice flavor to the sauce as well as deglaze all those lovely flavors sticking to the pan. Start swirling and stirring and letting that sauce thicken a bit. While you do, go ahead and add your parsley, little by little. You'll probably need about 1/2 cup of parsley when it's all said and done for this sauce. If you want to add more, go for it. Turn the heat down, and if it needs to thicken for a little bit, let it. If it looks and tastes ready, grab a spoon, start pouring that sauce onto the salmon and the tomatoes once they're ready. If you have a rice cooker, you can add rice, which is perfect. I don't, but luckily one of our players do, and was volunteered to be on rice duty. That's how hosting should be. Take care of the main stuff and let your players swoop in with some nice assists like side dishes and drinks. The dish itself is a great change of pace from the soups, chickens, beefs, and pastas we've been having lately. Salmon is an easy fish to cook, and this sauce is easy to make and packs a nice but not overbearing flavor. For the cost of the ingredients and the time it takes to cook, this is probably one of the nicer and yet easier and cost-effective dishes you can make for your players. As always, let me know if you plan on making this for your next tabletop get-together. I'm your host, DM and Cook Justin, and if you found this video helpful or entertaining, obliterate that like button, and if you want more cooking and D&D goodness, cuddle that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.